outlook. Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday 22nd of November. Let's get on and have a look at the risk sentiment. Oh, I say risk sentiment? The sentiment, the risk involved in today's trading. Looking at the news events that will be occurring. Well, it's not a great deal of anything significant. It's all very low key. I have put this sort of lower key or showing this lower key data up because for some reason Forex Factory gone a little bit strange on some things. Some important things are missing. So they've downgraded them, which was right at a certain time, but they haven't upgraded them back. So they need upgrading. So keeping an eye on everything. Anyway, there isn't anything significant in this New Zealand retail sales this evening, and that's it. It's all an Australian data this evening. We certainly won't be affecting us as traders today. So let's have a look at our markets as they are. We'll start off with the euro dollar. And Friday, well, we put this quite bearish bar sitting in there, a bit of divergence into where it is at the moment. Still, personally, I'm questioning whether this is a near-term low. It looked like it when it first had its spike and then took the step up, but of course then it sold off on Friday. And well, now it's put a bit of divergence across the lows there. However, also whenever you look at these sort of lower time frames and you see the signals in it, doesn't mean to say the signal is going to get absolutely reversed, but it may be that it just rattles around these levels. But anyway, of course it can go lower. You look at the bigger time frames and it's in free fall. Looking at the bigger time frames, and it may well do that. I was, as I said, just questioning the how much it will continue before it has a bit of a retrace. It may then just carry on. I mean, this may have been the retrace that we saw coming in last week. Anyway, today, looking at it, you've got the daily pivot above, which could be a draw if it starts breaking the short-term trend here, really. Weekly pivot sitting above there as well, so anything that, if it gets any continuation, well, that would be the upside. To the downside, it may, I mean, if you're just looking short-term downside or even long-term downside, one of these areas may, in fact, give you opportunity to be selling into. There's the daily pivot, weekly pivot, and just above it. So there we go. That's the euro. The pound. Well, the pound, it was doing pretty well up until Thursday. Friday, then it just completely sold off again, and we saw this running through. Now, some of this selling off in Europe, Europe with the euro and the pounds following suit to a degree, but certainly the euro selling is being put down to lockdowns starting to occur again in certain countries within Europe, and it's the question is what will happen in Germany a little bit more, and if we start seeing lockdowns coming through again for the COVID virus, it could well end up with a softening the euro. The pound may just get dragged along with this. We'll see, but for now, look starting the day looking relatively soft there. I drew this trend line some time ago on the bottom here, and really it's been broken, arguably. A lot of us, we then redraw our trend lines and we have another go, and occasionally these will come to something. At the moment it's consolidating where it is, not really going too far. It's got its daily and weekly pivot fractionally above. Consolidation into that, well, who knows, perhaps it will catch up with the euro and roll over. It does look soft where it's sitting. What would make it look a lot less soft is a break to the upside here. If we start breaking through the high up here, then that would suggest, well, it's put a higher low in. Okay, that's the pound. The yen, they're certainly not the most clear cut. Morning Maverick. They're not the most clear cut. Dollar yen, we can just see how really it's just been sitting in quite a chop. It's erring upside on the dollar basis, but when you come down, look at the 4 hourlies, you see the lower high in the 4 hourlies that was put in last week. maybe that's all over again. And the way it's chopping backwards and forwards, highs, lows, it's a difficult one at this stage. But you've got to wait until currently, just waiting until they show their hands a little bit later in the day. Sometimes, often in the afternoon at the moment. But what we got here then, so a bit of a retracement. It's already through its daily and weekly. A break below the daily would be, to me, a bit more bearish on this, but and with this lower high it does look softer, but we'll see how it develops during this morning. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar then, lower highs coming through on the dailies that were quite clear, and it sort of continued on Friday. It was almost just looking softer. Commodity currencies getting a bit of a hammering at the moment. Aussie's got the potential, looking at the 4 hourly, just to stay within this sort of downward trend, and yet pop up there and catch that weekly pivot. I'm looking at that weekly pivot thinking that wouldn't be a bad place to be selling from. So at the moment, looking at that sort of 72 75 area, so 75 76 area, 100 the hourly 100 sitting fractionally just above there. It has done a bit of divergence around these absolute lows on the hourlies here on the using the RSI indicator. Let's just see if MACD's confirming. Not really. So if I prefer them if they both confirm, but not really. But we could, as I say, if it does pitch up to this sort of area, it would then be of interest maybe to see if we get a little reversal round that low high, beg your pardon, and trade it. Right, that's the Aussie. Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar carries on pushing up here. Same softness that's just coming through these markets. This money seems to be running towards the dollar at this stage still. Canadian dollar again, bit similarish to the Australian dollar. I prefer selling the Australian dollar than buying this US dollar stroke CAD. I think that there's a turning point that's maybe more likely to come with the CAD first, but for now it's really quite difficult when you start coming down the time frames. Daily pivot, weekly pivot below. Maybe if it starts more of a correction later in the day, these targets may be hit. Right. There's lots of maybes there because it's not the clearest of markets. My favourite of the forex at the moment there then is that Aussie, if it can pick up on the biggest scale of things, running back towards that weekly pivot. So a lot of waiting to be done. Right. Okay, let's have a look at gold. Big picture. Let's have a look at dailies first. So still selling off a little bit here. It's coming back towards my horrible little area before, when we had plenty of supply at this range before, just coming back to that sort of level. That in itself may provide some support for gold. At the moment, it's, as I say, it's just sheer dollar strength coming through, and looking at this lower highs, lower lows in the short term here, it's certainly in a downward trend. But any turnaround here, it has got some reasonable targets above. I mean, intraday wise, if you want to just trade this little bit here, I'm not so sure, but I don't see it as an intraday trade personally. Anyway, there's gold and oil. It's too volatile, gold, for intraday trading. Oil. So last week we saw the breakdown here, and Friday ended up quite a big old day off. We're seeing it sit around the prior. I'll just bring them in. These prior highs up here. It could hold here a little bit further. There's little here at the moment to suggest anything different, but more low downside. However, then in which case, if I'm looking at a downside, any retracement. Oh, I say any retracement, a decent retracement, and I'm looking for value here. Maybe that weekly pivot there at 77.51 on the cash market there could be that point. There is a daily pivot coming in at around about 76 and 69. So just look at where your pivots are coming in, and if you're trading this via be a different broker. But there's a couple of points certainly where you could be looking for the softer side. Just looking at the 60-minute, there is a bit of divergence that's gone in, and maybe we'll just get a bit of a bounce for that. It's only very light, but it's there, and it may just give it the kicker. Right, turning across, looking at the what time is it? 8 o'clock. I can do this because it'll be open now. CSI 300. Well, a little up and down day really. That's it. Very small ranging day there. The Nikkei consolidation outside. Real weird outside bar here. It's obviously gapped down, went down lower, then pushed up and closed. Bullish engulfing. It looks like for a lead through for tomorrow. Maybe we'll see. But that's where it looks at the moment. Still in this generally bullish sort of movement on the Nikkei, and still looking okay. FTSE, well, the FTSE sold off and carried on selling through into Friday last week. We've seen a bit of a bounce as it's opened this morning, pretty much by those prior where it closed above those prior highs there, which could just be the support area, 72.19, 72.20, that sort of area. Let's just see how it pushes up. Not writing it off completely, but well, it is struggling. The DAX, again bearish bar of the outside bar there on Friday's movement there, but a little bounce at the moment, and the CAC doing a similar sort of was doing a similar thing. There we go. Similar sort of price action, pushing up this morning a little bit. There is this sort of concern, as I said, with these the European markets, whether we'll see further shutdowns, and that sort of well, we'll work through individual countries more so when we see the indices. We'll just watch their indices dropping. S&Ps, well, as I suggested on Friday, we get a new high. Can't remember if that new high was in on Friday when I spoke, but anyway, they're continuing to see further push to the upside, and there's certainly no point at the moment looking for shorting this market. Dow Jones being the alternate, the opposite really. Be wary of it though; it can turn around and catch up with its the two other indices quite quickly. So it's looking like this morning it's trying to also grab a bit of the upside, but certainly with the mix of only 30 companies there, is a bit more susceptible to one or two of those selling off, and it really does bring the index down quite quickly. The broader indices of the 100, Nasdaq 100, etc., and the S&Ps 500, much more steady and showing just that. Okay, whoops, just close that off, want that back, come back. Just a quick look then at crypto over the weekend, what it's been up to. Some people have been a bit busy, I think. Up one day, down the next. Saw the follow through in Saturday in terms of the buying. Well, it was scratching my head to see where it was coming off of. Actually, it did find a bit of support in the end, off the prior highs here, but it's currently sitting there looking like we'll get a continuation to the downside. So just continuing to look a bit soft. Ethereum not really looking any different, the same sort of picture through there. Ripple was looking soft last week, a bit earlier, but again it's up down weekend. That was it. Actually gave back more than it started with, so or pushed on there. So a softer weekend, and to me, just Ripple just looks at the softer of the three. All looking a tad on the bearish side at this stage. There we go. That's it for me. I wish you all a great day's trading, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now. There we go. All job there. Let's